The prison ship Dagon was drifting through the blackness of space, carrying some of the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. Its cold, metal hallways echoed with eerie silence as the guards patrolled the cells. These prisoners were not mere troublemakers. They were warlords, smugglers, and mercenaries from distant worlds. And among them, seated cross-legged in his cell, was a quiet human boy named Danny Thatcher. Danny had been sent to the Dagon under unique circumstances. At just 15, he wasn't a criminal. He was an Earth Alliance experiment, a bio-enhanced human. The scientists had designed him for strength and resilience, traits Earth would need if humans were to survive in the hostile galaxy. But as much as Danny was special, he was also a kid, forced to grow up fast among beings that had conquered entire star systems. Kirr, a 7-foot-tall, sulfur-colored reptilian alien, had been eyeing Danny since he boarded. Kirr had fought his way up in the harsh ranks of the Thrika war clans and was used to getting what he wanted. In his eyes, Danny was just a fragile little human and an easy target. Kirr slithered up to Danny's cell and sneered through the bars, his scales glinting in the dim blue light. "Oi, kid," Kirr hissed, his forked tongue flickering between his pointed teeth. "You're new here, so let me give you some advice. Share your rations with me tonight, or else—" Danny didn't react. His eyes stayed fixed on his hands, which were resting calmly in his lap. He could tell Kirr was trying to size him up, test his limits. Danny wasn't intimidated, though. He knew something Kirr didn't. From the cell next door, Zekr, a spider-like alien with a webbed body and long, hairy legs, chuckled darkly. "Listen to the kid, Kirr. He looks like he's seen scarier things in his bed." Laughter echoed down the corridor. To them, Danny was a joke, a runt. He was human, a species that was known for being weaker, slower, and inferior to most other life forms in the galaxy. Kirr leaned closer to Danny's cell. "When the guards take their break, I'll be here. And you'd better have those rations ready, kid, or else you're going to see what Thrika claws can do." Danny sighed and finally looked up. His gaze was steady, his expression calm. "Kirr, you don't want to mess with me." The reptilian sneered. "Oh yeah? What are you going to do, kid? Cry for your mama?" Danny stood up slowly, a subtle crackle in his muscles as he flexed them. Unknown to Kirr, Earth scientists had spent years enhancing Danny's physiology. His bones were reinforced, his muscles had strength beyond anything seen in his species, and his reflexes were honed to near perfection. Danny had the power to crush metal with his bare hands, but he'd never had a reason to use it until now. Kirr growled and reached a claw through the bars, aiming to grab the front of Danny's shirt. But he barely moved before Danny's hand shot out, gripping Kirr's wrist with a force that made the reptilian gasp. Danny's fingers tightened, and Kirr felt his bones strain under the pressure. "Wow, what are you?" Kirr sputtered, his confidence evaporating. Danny twisted Kirr's arm with a practice flick, and the reptilian stumbled backward, clutching his wrist in pain. The other alien stared, stunned. Zekr cowered in his cell, and the jeers faded into shocked silence. Danny wasn't the weakling they had thought. "I warned you," Danny said quietly, stepping out of his cell after effortlessly bending the metal bars apart. He walked toward Kirr, who was scrambling to his feet, fear etched across his face. "You're just a kid," Kirr hissed, trying to muster his old bravado. "You're—" Danny didn't wait for him to finish. With a single fluid motion, he struck Kirr in the chest. The blow sent the massive alien flying backward, slamming into the wall, where he slumped unconscious. Danny turned to Zekr, whose eyes widened in terror. "Wait, I was just kidding," Zekr stammered, scuttling to the back of his cell. But Danny was done with mercy. In 3 quick steps, he shattered the bars of Zekr's cell and delivered a sharp, controlled chop to the spider alien's midsection, knocking him out cold. By now, every prisoner was staring at Danny in terrified awe. Whispers spread along the corridor, as the aliens began to understand that this boy, small as he seemed, was a force to be reckoned with. Danny looked around. "Anyone else have a problem?" His voice was calm, almost soft, but there was an unmistakable edge of steel. The prisoners fell silent, backing away. They weren't fools. They had seen true power, and it was clear now that they'd underestimated the human species. As Danny stood in the middle of the corridor, The heavy sound of footsteps approached. 2 guards had come to check on the commotion. They stopped dead in their tracks when they saw the scene. Aliens sprawled unconscious, cells broken open, and Danny standing in the center, unscathed. "What happened here?" one of the guards stammered. Danny shrugged, wiping his hands on his pants. "They wanted to test me," he said simply. "Turns out I passed." The guards exchanged a look of amazement and nodded, gesturing for Danny to follow them. As he walked past the unconscious prisoners, Danny allowed himself a small smile. He wasn't a criminal, nor a monster, but he was more than just a kid. And maybe now, he thought, the galaxy would start to realize that Earth's fragile humans were full of surprises.